we're going to do another video this week. I do not have my co-host. He is currently watching the Broncos game. I didn't tell him I was doing this because it was no purpose in me, wanting or asking him to do the video. So here I am by my lonesome, and doing a little bit of a different kind of video. This time, I'm going to look at. I have ranked, in my opinion only, the top 19 games left in this regular season. Now, you ask, why 19? Because. And this is Stokes, aka Stokes' list. If you would like to rank the regular season games left and provide your own ranking, then you go right ahead. Because this took me a lot longer than I thought. I came back from seeing my patients today, and I thought, let me just look through the games, and easy peasy 1 hour or 30 minutes and be done with it. Nah, it took me about 90 minutes, looking at the games and what the implications meant and everything like that. So along with the games themselves, I've also talked about, or I have a number associated with the game and something interesting about it. All right, so we're going from 19 to 1, just to have a little bit of build up there. So starting at number 19, we have week number 15. We're going to go and look at the Philadelphia at Chicago game. That is the brother battle. And when we're at that point, currently you see Chicago 6-6, Green Bay's 8-4. I don't think that Ron would lay one down, so Andrew might have a better chance at making the playoffs. But I mean, it is week 15. Philly's 9-2. I don't know why I was looking at Green Bay there. Anyway, so Philly's going to be going after a. Maybe the bye, maybe the second seed or third seed, and when you look at it and compare it to what Andrew's going to be working up against, he needs some help along with winning his games in order to get into the playoffs. So I can't see Ron giving him any sort of assistance when it comes to that game, and I wouldn't give my brother any assistance either. If my brother wants to make the playoffs, then he's gonna have to beat me. So. As most family members do when it comes to playing video games with one another, especially if you've been going to battle with this person for years and years and years. So it's an interesting game, and the number for this one is 171, which is the number of yards per game that Kyle Pitts averages. 171. And I think that a lot of people are going to start to possibly look at more of the games between the Philadelphia Eagles to figure out what teams are doing to slow down Kyle Pitts, and if there's anything you can do to slow him down, because there may not be, and that's just a matter of what you're going to do, what little things you can add to your game that's going to be effective against him. And I've got a couple of ideas, but I'll figure those out, whenever I get the opportunity to play against Ron. So, looking forward to that game. It should be an interesting one. So now we're on to number 18. That is going to be a Week 14 battle. That's Las Vegas versus the Rams. So that game, it should be an interesting one because the AFC NFC thing. The NFC has been doing a really good job as far as playing against the AFC. I haven't gone through all of the numbers to see exactly what the record might be, but it seems like when it comes to the top-ish dogs, or that you would consider in the AFC, they get knocked off by NFC opponents. Joseph by himself has beaten the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Broncos. So, I mean, the Carolina Panthers, they are tough. I'm happy that we've already gotten through our two games with them because that they're a tough team, and I'm just happy to be through those games. So, with that in mind, the Raiders, they are really, really good. It seems like the way he's been playing offensively, it's been impressive. And the number that I have for that this game is 18, which is Kyler Murray is plus 18 on the touchdown interception ratio. So that's the best in the league by a pretty good margin. There are only three quarterbacks in the league with a plus 10 touchdown to interception. So, I mean, that may not be a big deal, so to speak, just I mean, numbers by themselves, but this game itself, with as many interceptions as we're throwing as a league, when you have a guy who's throwing only maybe one a game, and right now he's averaging over one per game, but the league average per game is 6. So if you look at that, that means his opponent is averaging 4 plus interceptions per game because he's averaging only a little bit over one. So I mean, keep that in mind when you're thinking about the numbers and how they average out. And this is not to say that the Rams are gonna throw 4 interceptions. I mean, he might, but just looking at the league averages, he's doing very, very, very well with Kyler Murray, and looks like he's spreading the ball out, which makes it even more difficult for people to find a way to defend. Now we're going on to number 17. That is the game that currently, in this week, Washington versus the Giants. Now, I know that game has been played. This is unfortunate timing. But the importance of this game was for the potential number 2 pick. And whether one person was going to try and lose the game, or whether it was going to be one person is trying to win and one person doesn't really care about their draft picks. I know that Tony, the Commanders, they're playing a bunch of young players, so he's expecting that he's going to win, and at this point he has 10 losses anyway, so once you get that low, finishing a season 5-12 is not any sort of beneficial thing to do. So we can look at that game real quick, actually, because it was actually played. Let's just see how that went. Turnover wise, two, and they were both on the Giants side. So the number that I had for this game was 68, which is the number of interceptions between the two teams, with 46 of them coming from Washington. And in this game, he didn't throw any. So that's interesting to me that he was 7 of 12 with a touchdown, and plus 2 on the turnover ratio, and didn't win the game. So I didn't have an opportunity to watch that game. I was still doing research, but that's an interesting thing to look at. 6 third down conversions. What the heck happened here? Anyway, so that was number 17, and it was unfortunately already played. Number 16. Now we're going to go to week 15. And in that game, we're going to talk about the Miami at Buffalo game. Now, the Dolphins, they're going to need to continue to win. They just won a big game this week that I was watching earlier against the 49ers. So after a pretty good stretch, I mean, after the week 4 wrap up that I did, I said, watch out for the Dolphins. They're gonna be a problem. And from that point, Dirty has just proceeded to be a problem for himself. And after the bye week, it looks like he's turned it around a little bit. So, fortunately for him, that has been the case. Two good wins here. If he can get right and go into the Bills game with a 3-game win streak, that's going to be really really important for him. And in this game against the Bills, he played them earlier this season and they won by 2 points. But it looks like the Bills are a much different team than they were that last game. Um, I don't know what has changed within Hankel's way of play or whatever the case is, but from that point, it seems like Hinkle's has been a different type of player. Has he lost a game since? Oh, actually, he just lost to Detroit. So he's only lost one game since that loss that he took, and it was his most recent one. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. But my number for this game is 17. That's the number of interceptions that Hankel has thrown in 11 games. Um, so, I mean, just like with the Raiders, he's averaging a little bit over one interception uh, per game, which means he's doing pretty well defensively. And so, taking care of the football is something that is incredibly important in this game. When you don't turn the ball over, you give your opponent more opportunities to turn the ball over, which is um, super super critical. And also, the Bills are going to be playing or trying to play for the number one seed. Like that. That's something that's really important too, because with Madden, this being a situation where you just don't know sometimes. You can any game that you're in, you can get quote unquote maddened out of it. And that's not to say that you get cheated or anything like that. It's just sometimes you just have those games where the 50-50 balls don't go your way, where the fumble luck doesn't go your way, where you just get one or two bad things. Because every game, both sides get fortunate things to happen for them, whether it's good or bad. There's the interception that's not caught. There's the block that's missed. Like so many plays are one block missed or made block away from being touchdowns. That there's so many different plays that can affect a game, um, and that's football, and that's Madden, that's everything. So. Um, we'll see how things go with this game between the Dolphins and the Bills, but the Bills are probably going to need this game for the first number one seed, and we'll see how they go with that. So we're on to game number 15 on the list. That is going to go to week 15. Rams at Packers. Now, so the Rams, they've had a really interesting season. They came into it thinking that they were going to be a really, really difficult defense to play against, and they have been. But they're having a little bit of trouble playing in this mode, I should say. Sam, he's not a big fan of it. I think that his coach's name or I definitely have shared my views on this subject. We play on what we play on, and that's all we can do. But with that being said, he is still playing really good defense. The number for this game is 20, which is his last six opponents. Only one of them went over 20, and even in that game, the man lost by 27 points. So the defense is still there, even though he's not a big fan of it. I mean, he had a game that was 7-3. It's a head scratcher. With that being said, he's going up against someone who has historically been a good offensive player. So when you get a good defense versus a good offense, that's where the rubber is going to meet the road one way or another, and we'll see how that game goes. But it's an important game for both teams because the Rams are still fighting for the division, and if not the division, the wild card, and the Packers are in their own battle within their division with a bunch of teams with winning records or 500 records. So number 14. The game number 14. We're going to go to week 14. It's going to be Minnesota at Detroit. Now, Detroit started out, I think 7-0, then lost 2 in a row, and got back on it as far as playing pretty well. He lost 2 divisional games, so I mean, you can't fault him too greatly for things like that. But Minnesota, he's been. So my number for this game is 30. And that is actually in a reference to Minnesota. 0 dark 30. After he lost to the Dolphins, he made a post basically saying he's not going to say anything anymore, and if anybody wants to bet on games, like he's here for it. I translated that, and yeah, so that was a funny one. And after that, he's basically scored 1 million points essentially. We're just looking at his games. Like from that moment, he was 2-4, and then 55, 67, loss, 53, 55, 45. Now, he may have gotten a little bit healthy on people who aren't exactly the best players this year. The Cardinals have 0 wins. The Commanders have 2 wins. He lost to what we consider a good opponent, the number 1 seed in the AFC. 53 on Clark, who I think has 3 wins. Patriots, I want to say, has 2 or 3 wins, and then the Jets have 2 or 3 wins, I think. So maybe this is just a product of him just beating up on, in college terms, cupcakes, but beating up on teams that aren't really playing their best. And then he played one person who was playing well, or who has been playing well this season, and then lost that game. So we'll see how that goes, because when he played the Lions earlier in the season, he lost by 14 points. And in that game, his passing got locked up, I believe. Well, I guess not locked up, but he didn't score anything until the 4th quarter. I didn't watch that game, so I can't really tell you what happened or whether there's something different that could have happened or should happen when they play again. But he seems to be in a pretty good place, and that's his very next game. So we'll see, what's going to happen within that game, because Detroit needs to win that game also. They are trying to win that number 1 seed, as well as trying to fend off the Packers. And if he loses this game, the Lions do, that's going to bring them back to the pack. That's going to give the Lions actually 3 divisional losses, which is going to be super important in the grand scheme of things. If he takes 3 divisional losses, then he's basically lost the tiebreaker to essentially everyone. And you can't do that and try to win the division, in my opinion. So, 3 divisional losses is going to be a difficult situation to overcome, and it'll put him at 3. It'll put him at 3 losses overall, and the Packers have 4 right now. The Vikings have 5. So, I mean, going through all of that would be a difficult position to put himself in. So it's a really important game. Number 13. We're going to go to week 15, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Saints. Now, I was just watching the Saints win a tough one against the Buccaneers. They just won that game 13-10. I was just watching that. It was, I think Money had some pretty good chances to win that game. Like, he had a 7-point lead, and I'm pretty sure he got the ball back, but he didn't exactly capitalize on that game. So, not a lot you can do there. But it's not a game that I would have chalked up for a win for money anyway. Anyway, so but where was I? Number 13. So the my game against the Saints. The division is out of reach for everyone in the South right now, because I've only got one loss right now. But um, the Saints still are trying to make it to the playoffs, and you would think that with if they have 6 or 7 losses, that's really going to be a difficult position to put himself in. Right now, he's got 5, so that's going to be he's going to be on bye. Then he faces me, and the rest of his season, from the point in which he lost to Eric, he's won all of his games. They've all been close. So I mean, it's just a testament to coin flip games. Who's going to make those important those big plays in the moments in which you need them, and he's won shootouts. He's won close games. And in our game earlier, week 1, I forget what happened to it, but as Ramy would tell you, he said he gave that game away. So, we'll take it for what it is, and we will come back at it next time, and we'll see how things and win streak, and it's important for him because I don't think he's going to be able to get in with 7 losses. I think that the rest, especially the NFC North, they're going to really put a stamp on the 2 of the wild card spots, and I'm sorry, 1 of the wild card spots. And then when you have the other 2, I think that it's possible that a team in the West will get 1, and after that, it's anyone's guess. But with that in mind, it's likely that that game and the game against the Eagles are going to be critical to this. But he also does have another one that's actually on the list too. So the number for this game is 9. So in these 3 games, these 3 wins, Jameson Williams had 9 total catches. And there were 3 wins. The 3 games prior to that, which he went 1-2, Jameson had 23. So maybe things got changed around within the offensive scheme, or maybe he was just not getting the looks that he was getting earlier with Jameson Williams. But either way, it seems that the change in the overall mindset and scheme has led to less looks or fewer looks to Jameson, and more looks to everyone else. Now, this game, I'm going to guess that Jameson did not have a good game either, considering he only had 190 yards total offensively. Pickett, Jameson Williams had 3 catches. So in his last 4 games, all 4 wins, Jameson Williams has 12 catches overall. So maybe he's on to something, and we'll see how things go in week 15. But yeah. And of course, I'm going to be trying to win that game because I want to lock up the number 1 seed if I can get it, and I need wins to do that. Where are we at on time? All right, 23 minutes. Okay, that's not bad. Not bad at all. All right, number 12. We're going to week 13. That's this week. And in that, we're going to go to Denver at Baltimore. This is a weird spot for both people. In this Madden, or I'm seeing in previous Maddens, these guys, it might have taken them multiple seasons to lose 9 games overall, but this Madden is a different Madden, and this game is playing a little bit different. And for whatever reason, these guys have taken more losses than you would normally see, and this is a good thing. I think it's gonna force these guys to change overall mindset as far as how you're attacking the game, how you're attacking your opponent. Um, and I'm excited to see how this game is going to go for them because I mean there's no love lost between these two guys. But that being said, this is in the grand scheme, in the scheme of this season, it's an important game because they have 9 losses between them. That's my key number, 9. Um, they've got 9 losses, and this game could actually be the difference between a tiebreaker and the wild card spot because the Broncos aren't going to win the division. The Raiders have the Raiders have nine. They're 9-2, I think. And then you've got in the AFC North, Cincinnati. I think they're probably good to win that division. I would say. I'm not sure they have a lot of tough games left, but I would probably mark them to win that division. So this game could be the difference between a wild card spot between the two of these guys. So it's going to be a really important game. And I have an extra bonus number for this game, 34. Both QBs have 34 interceptions each. So they both give the opponent an opportunity to take the ball back, and we'll just see which quarterback ends up throwing more. Conceivably, you would think Malik Willis because he's just the lesser of the quarterbacks, but I mean, you never really know because it is football, you know. Um, so that is number 12. I'm going to go to number 11, and that is another game this week actually. Jacksonville at Detroit. So that game is going to be about seeding. And as well as the NFC AFC thing. But seeding. Jacksonville, they've got really good wins. Um, they've got a win over Baltimore. I'm not sure whether they have played. I doubt they played Cincinnati. They played the Raiders. They beat the Raiders. So so they have those tiebreakers. And what can happen is if the Raiders drop another one, then the Jags have the number 1 seed. But in order to do that, they've got to get through this game against Detroit. Now, I'm rooting for the Jags just because I would prefer to have a 2-game cushion as far as the number 1 seed goes. But I'm expecting that's going to be a good hard nosed game because the Jags are one of the most difficult teams to get behind as far as when they're playing right. Like he is not opposed to just grinding the entirety of a game out, and that's a good thing. Force you to play defense. If it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and you show him a light box, he'll run it because why not? And that's something that a lot more people need to incorporate into their game. I mean, it may not always work. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you. You can put yourself in a not so great position if you run the ball on like 3rd and 9 and you only get 2 yards or whatever. But the fact that you're willing to do it in some situations is an important thing because your opponent has to honor that. Like it makes it a lot easier for me defensively when I know, all right, well, this dude's not running the ball no matter what, no matter what type of box I show them. And it allows me to do the commit pass thing if the situation calls for it, and a bunch of different things I can do defensively when I know you're not going to run. When you're playing against a player that's willing to run the ball on 3rd and shorts, or I'm sure 3rd and longs, it allows your offensively, like if I ran the ball on 3rd and 9 and got myself to 4th and 2, I put myself in an even better position if I'm going to go for it because now I've got the entire field to work with. You can't just bank on the sack. I can do a lot of different things to effectively convert this 4th down. So I think that This is something that many people should incorporate. Just the willingness to take that chance on the third and long. Um, I'm watching the Green Bay and Chicago game, and there's a really weird pick six just happened. Aaron Rodgers threw the ball off of someone's, caught it, and was by himself to run for six. So now Packers are up 20-0. Um, and that is an unfortunate one. That may knock the Bears out of the playoff contention. So on to number. So now we got through 19, nine of them. So now we're going to go to the top 10. Oh, I forgot the number. Sorry. So the number is 19. The Lions have 19 giveaways. The Jags have 41 takeaways. So the rubber's going to have to meet the road in that regard. The Lions, he takes care of the ball, and that's an important part of this game. You don't want to get yourself in a position where you are giving up extra possessions, and that's just a situation that you don't want. Um, yeah. To number 10, week 16, Saints at Browns. So the Browns, he's a generally under the radar type of person. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He just plays solid football with football schemes, and he goes out there and he plays lots of close games. But if he gets down, he tends to get blown out. Like you can just see from his record, 3 point loss, 2 point loss, 3 point loss, 52 point loss, and a 49 point loss. I'm sorry, 39 point loss. So if he's either going to keep the game close or he's just going to put himself in really, really bad positions. Um, or he'll win games. So it seems to be can't have one or is one or the other with the Browns. And for to his credit, I'm hoping that he wins this game against the Saints because I don't want the Saints to make the playoffs. That obviously, if you follow the boards, I've got a $50 bet with him that he's going to miss the playoffs. And as I said to him, is like if that bet made him even 1%, it made him try harder, even 1%. That's I'm in full support because I would like for all of my opponents, all my division mates to go for it as much as they can because I just want everyone to be as successful or as locked in as possible. I don't want anyone talking about them not being locked in for whatever reason, and that's just not something that I really want out of my division mates. I want them to want to be great and at this game and just to try and win as much as possible. So anyway, the number for that game is 18. The number one wide receiver for the Browns has 18 catches. So that dude's averaging like a catch and a half a game from Patrick Mahomes. He's only got 192 passing attempts this season. So that's what 12, 13, 14, something like that, 15 passes a game that he's throwing. And that's not really indicative of what you want out of Patrick Mahomes, So we'll see how things go as far as how he continues to mold his offense, and he probably needs different wide receivers. His tight end is leading the team in receptions, but when you look at his team, you don't see any players that you're like, okay, well, this guy is super duper good. Um, he the Browns owner really took to drafting a bunch of youth. As you can see, among his top pass catchers, 2 years, except for Goodwin here, rookie, 1 year, 2 years, rookie. So and then his running back is a rookie also. So when you look at how he's built his team, maybe these wide receivers just can't get the separation that's necessary in order to be super effective just yet. And maybe as time goes on, he's going to make that change. I just want to see if Patrick Mahomes still has Escape Artist, whether he's got off that yet. Okay, great. I'm glad that you've taken Escape Artist off of Mahomes, because you weren't using it. I mean, it's just not something that a lot of people do. Right? So that was number 10. Number 9 is the game that is currently on my screen, on my computer. It's Green Bay and Chicago. Green Bay is leading by 10 at half. Green Bay has the ball. The Packers threw a weird interception before half, and the Bears caught the ball, and like it was, it was the longest 4 seconds of Madden life. Like, he caught the ball at like his own like 45, and got to the opposing 34 in a matter of 4 seconds. Got tackled and fell down with just 3 seconds. So it was a really interesting end to the half, and gave the Bears a little bit of momentum for sure. But if the Bears lose this game, they will have lost both games to the Packers, as well as they'll give them 3 divisional losses. So I'm sorry, 2. So right now they're 2-1. So if they end up coming back and winning this game, they'll be 3-1, and it'll give them an opportunity to get right back into the playoff race for sure. The number for this game is 300. So 300. Aaron Rodgers with the Bears has thrown for 300, I want to say 4 or 5 times. With it being an in-season trade, it's really difficult to have an idea specifically of which games was with him and which games was not. So it looks like he's thrown for 300 yards 4 times, and 3 of those games were losses for the Bears. So maybe throwing the ball as much as he is throwing it is not as effective, or as effective as you'd want. Like when you go and look at it, it could be 5 games, but it's difficult to tell. He's one of the I think 7 quarterbacks we have with a positive touchdown to interception ratio also. So you see a loss there, win there, loss. I want to say win. That was him, but again, I don't know when he got to the Packers either. So 2 wins, 3 losses, with 300 yards, 300 yards passing. So, well, I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but I mean, aside from that one game with the against the Dolphins, like he's throwing it up there a lot with Aaron Rodgers. In the last 2 games, he's throwing it up a whole lot and got himself in some really difficult positions. But he's going to have to throw himself back into this game with down 20, and if he comes back, that's going to be something that's going to really be a boon for his season, especially with the Packers, possibly giving away a game that they felt really good about. Number 8 on the list is a Week 16 game, Denver at the Rams. Now, this game is important because I think the loser is... What is this? I think the loser is out of the playoffs. Did I get kicked off my stream here? No, I didn't. Okay. I think the loser is out of the playoffs here, because they're both in a position where they're not going to win their division. I don't think, but with the Niners taking a loss, that could open up things for the division there. Well, look at that. All right, they split their head to head, so it's actually a pretty good race now in the West. So it may not be a loser is out situation. It may be A loser is going to maybe Broncos losing their out, and the Rams losing their fighting for a wild card position. That being said, the number for that game is 61. And that's the number of sacks between the two teams. 61 sacks. So they're both blitz and blitz heavy, and so we'll see who ends up getting more sacks. And I'm pretty sure both quarterbacks are not very good. So when you're talking about the blitz and the pressure and all that, it's going to affect the rest of the game. And when you're blitzing hard, as far as either coming up with the right schematic play or whether it's a matter of running, and but defensively just getting like a pick six or a fumble six or whatever. Either way, it's going to be a close game. I'm expecting because defensively it's going to be a battle between the both of them. So I'm expecting that it's going to be a good one, and I think that it'll be a situation where is are both teams going to be in okay, I can't lose any more games mode, or is one team going to have an opportunity to rest on their laurels? So that is game number 8. Number 7 on this list, it's a Week 18 game. Dallas at Washington. Now, why is that game important? Well, because I'm pretty sure they have, yeah. So Dallas, 3 wins. Commanders, 2 wins. Now, that game is going to end up going one of 2 ways, I think. It'll either be a tank off, or that game is not going to get played. Like I can see a situation where they're both just trying to lose that game because why wouldn't you? I guess in that moment when it's Week 18 and you're only playing for draft position, and especially with the Commanders have a team full of young players, they've got to get the draft capital as much as they can. So to Clerk's credit, I would expect that he's going to go out there and with the thoughts of winning the game. But at the same time, it's going to be Week 18. It's entirely possible that game does not get played. Then it could be a position where it's the week starts and Clerk says, or Tony says, all right, well, I've got this and this going on. You can take the force win. And Clerk's like, no. I got this and this going on. You can take the force win. And then they're both sitting there trying to give each other the win, and or they'll just play it. Either way, it should be an interesting situation. Oh, and it is my number 7 game because of what the implications are. Like what a win or loss can change for your draft position. And the number for that game is -2. The Cowboys are only -2 in turnover ratio, and that's interesting because he's 3-8. He's going to be 4-8 now, I assume, because of that game against the Colts that he has this week. So maybe it'll be a situation where this is going to turn things around for Clerk, and he's going to going through to the last little bit of the season looking for something as far as success. Number 6 on the list, we're going to run to game Atlanta at Baltimore. Now, depending on how the rest of the schedule goes with the Ravens, this could be a situation where this game knocks them out of the playoffs. Like, I don't know for sure what's going to happen there, of course, but this could be something that keeps this player from making the playoffs. And I don't know for sure whether it's going to work because he's got a couple of games that you would expect him to win, or he would normally win. But if he loses this game this week against the Broncos, he's got the Browns, he had a 2 point win. Steelers, who he hasn't played yet. Um, but who knows? Like the way he's been playing, he's lost 3 out of his last 4 games. Lost a couple games that you probably, in most situations, wouldn't expect him to lose. But if you play poorly, your Madden's going to take it from you. And if you don't go out there and take every game, um, if you don't take every opponent seriously, like this game has a way of putting you back in check, and that's what happened in my game against the Chargers. Is that I didn't take the game as seriously as I should have. I saw him 0-7. I was like, all right, well, he's probably not going to try too hard to win this game, and I kept putting myself in positions where you know he was there, and he kept on pushing and pushing, and I made mistakes and gave him opportunities, and he capitalized on them. So you cannot take any of these. You can't take these opponents lightly. Like whether their record's good or bad, it's just not a good decision, I think, to take opponents lightly, especially in this Madden, because um, you, know, you never really know. But the number for this game is 1377. The Ravens have given up 1,377 yards rushing so far this season, and that includes about 500 yards in just the last 2 games. So um, he likes to blitz heavy, blitz hard, and that leaves an opponent open. That leaves you open to getting gashed on the run. So if he continues to do that against the Falcons, myself, I believe I have the most rushing yards in the league. So I mean, if that doesn't seem to bode well, but um, that game will be its own game. You can't take anything historical from that game. Whether I've played Eric a million times or this is my first time playing him, you go with the matchup for that week and you see how things are going to go. And there's also differences and different things that people can learn that maybe he learned through in that past game against the Jaguars or the game against the Panthers that are going to help him stop the run in that game in the Week 16 game. So we'll see how that goes as far as the meaningfulness of that game, because it's entirely possible that it's not going to keep him for the playoffs. Like depending on how the rest of the AFC goes. Right now, he's sitting at the 5 seed, so he's still got the Browns who are trying to get in, the Broncos, and the Raiders have the number 1 seed right now. So I'm not expecting that it'll keep him from the playoffs, but you never know. If a couple things go wrong, then boom, boom, boom. Number 5. So now we're in the top 5 games of the rest of the way in the regular season. Number 5 I've got is Week 14, KC against Denver. So I think that game is probably going to be an eliminator game as far as how it's going to go the rest of the way. I know they play again, I think in Week 17, I want to say, but this game is going to be crucial for them. I was right. Because the Broncos are right now pretty much reeling. And if he loses this game to Baltimore, he's going to go into the game 6-6, and he's going to need this game. And if he doesn't win this one, then that's when everything goes down the tube, and he's going to have to probably make some changes within the way he's playing or the players he's playing with. So, and the Chiefs, they're also 5-6, I think. Oh, they are 5-6. He just took a big loss, and when you look at this guy's rest of his schedule, only the Seahawks have a losing record, I think, and they're 5-6. So he has a tough road to hoe here, and pressure is going to burst the pipes, or it's going to build some diamonds, and he's got to win against Jacksonville. So it's a situation where you know either he's going to build from this, or he's just going to die. And we'll see starting this week when he faces the Cincinnati Bengals, and what goes on from there. And the number from that game is 30. The Chiefs have the 30th ranked offense in the league, as far as offensive yards are concerned. So, I mean, if you're not moving the ball, if you're not scoring, it's going to be really difficult to win games. And I'm really hopeful that it turns out that he makes that a good game. I always want to see good Madden games. I always want to see people playing in these pressure situations, because that's what builds things, and that's what I'm hoping for from this game specifically. So, all right. So number 4, Week 18, Minnesota at Chicago. Now, this is a situation where you have two opponents that it's a divisional game, of course, and these are players that they could be playing for the final wild card spot. Right now, they are. I think the Vikings are 7-6, and the Bears are 6-6. Sorry, Vikings 7-5, Bears 6-6. So when you look at the potential importance of this game, they could be playing for their playoff lives here. I mean, that's not a far-fetched thing to say at all, and depending on how the rest of the season goes, um, they could be legitimately playing. They could legitimately be starting the playoffs a week early in week 18, and that would be really fun to see. And I'll definitely be there to watch that if I absolutely can. So the number for that game is 42. In 8 of his last 9 games, the Vikings have scored 42 points or more. Now, that's a lot of points. Again, I mentioned it earlier. It was against players that probably are not all fantastic, but it's still a lot of points regardless of the situation. So the Bears are going to have to really get in their bag. They scored 45 points in that game when they beat them earlier in the season. So obviously he sees what he needs here. And I haven't watched any of the Vikings games, unfortunately. I guess I've missed opportunities as far as watching them. Maybe he's playing at a time that I can't really watch. I don't really know, but I haven't watched any of the Vikings games. But you can only play who's on your schedule, and then that's really all you can do. I was just watching the Packers and Vikings game, and Prey should have thrown an interception. Well, he overthrew his wide receiver by a whole bunch at the 2-minute warning, and the Bears corner just wasn't fast enough to get to it. Anyway, so that was number 4. Game number 3 is another Week 18 game, Detroit at Green Bay. Now, I think that game is most likely going to determine the NFC North winner. When you look at how things are culminating in the conference and the division, the Packers have a win over the Lions already. That was like 35-6, I think was the final score. Yeah. So I'm expecting that game is going to determine the division, and the Lions are going to be out there trying to avenge that loss, and at the same time, secure the division, because the Packers have been playing pretty well. The last week notwithstanding, but they've been playing pretty well the last few weeks. Started off a little bit slow, give up a bunch of points to the Vikings, and then started really getting into things. Their losses are, aside from the Patriots loss, their losses are to opponents with winning records. I mean, the Bills have 2 losses, the Eagles have 2 losses. So I mean, what can you say about that? They're losses against opponents who are good, but at the same time, those are losses against people that you're likely going to see at the end. So you can only take so much when you lose to good people. You can say, yeah, I lost to good people, but yeah, you're going to see those good people again. And if you keep losing to them, then what good is that for you? So the number for that one is actually not a number; it's a question mark. Who will the Lions use at quarterback? Are they going to use Mac Noodle Arm Jones, or are they going to use Matt Ryan? Who knows? Um, because a lot of things can happen between now and then that can change whether Jason is going to go with Mac Jones or Matt Ryan. So really, it's an impossible question to fully answer, and I'm here for it. I thought it was a really bad decision for him to trade for Mac Jones, and I hope that he continues to play Mac Jones for the rest of his life because I don't think that guy is very good, and it's only a matter of time before Mac ends up costing the game. In his most recent game against the Bills, who started? Mac started, 14 of 16, 3 touchdowns. Not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad. But we'll see. We'll see how things continue to go. All right. So now we're into the final two games. So number 2 on the list is actually a Week 16 game. It's a Week 16, Buffalo at Cincinnati. I think that game is going to determine the number 1 seed in the AFC. I don't see too many games left for the Cincinnati Bengals to lose, and the same for Buffalo. So I think that game is going to really determine the number 1 seed because of that that tiebreaker that you get as when you get that win, of course. So when you see that game, see these two players that you don't know what to expect from them. I'm excited for that game for that reason. So the number for that game is 2. 2 rushing attempts. The Bengals have just been passing and passing and passing and passing and passing and passing and passing. But he has said that when it comes to the playoff time, he runs the ball when he's given the opportunity or given the reason to. So is he going to run the ball in that game because of its importance, or is he going to continue to pass the ball and put the ball in opportunity for it to get picked off, or whatever the case is? Because at this point, Deshaun Watson is completing 54% of his passes. So, with that in mind, only completing 54%. I mean, there's a lot of different balls that are up there that are up for either just interception or ones that you throw it in traffic and your player gets hit and all that other stuff. So, keeping that in mind, I think that's going to be a really interesting game because the Bills have been playing pretty well defensively and offensively. He doesn't give up the ball a lot, so that may change when you're playing against a team that scores the ball quickly, and if you get behind 14 points and you're a ball control offense, it can really change the way you decide to play football. All right. So the number 1 game that I see in for the rest of 2A1 is Week 18, Baltimore at Cincinnati, and I see that as being a game that could potentially, just like the other game against myself, it could be one that keeps Baltimore out of the playoffs. And it's a divisional game, and when the divisions came out, it was really noticeable that Tev put the Bengals and the Ravens in the same division, and just to see how that game turned about. And the first game they played, Baltimore won by like 20 some points, I think, and after that game, it was you know the Bengals said that the Ravens weren't good. I mean, that's what we expect of him to say after things like that. He won that game by 21 points. So, and then there was a lot of crazy things that happened within that game. But he was down like 24-0, something like that, something along those lines, where it was just a really weird game. And I can understand how he came out of that game feeling like he was maybe the better player, and just a matter of sometimes Madden luck's not on your side, and sometimes you just get someone just plays better than you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with something like that happening either. You know, someone outplays you, just leave it as it is. You don't have to take away from an opponent just because they won a game. This isn't the end of the world for any of us. You know, if someone outplays you, someone doesn't outplay you, whatever. But I mean, it's an impossibility to expect that you are a better player than everyone. You know, it's just not something that you should be expecting. Um, Let me see. How many defensive touchdowns were there in this game? Oh, just the one. Okay. So I mean, so that's my top 19 games, the rest of the way. And this was interesting to do. Like I said, it was a lot more research than I was expecting. But once I got into it, I was like, well, I've got to keep on doing this because I was already into it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you stayed with. And if you wanna go ahead and pick out of those 19 games who you think is going to win, I will. Aside from the two games that have already been played, which is the Green Bay game just ended, and the Washington and Giants game just ended. So Green Bay won that game, and the Giants won that game. I'll offer anyone who can get all 17 of these games correct $50. $50 Cash App or Zelle or however you want it. If you can pick all those games correct, um, just why not? That's just as a little bonus for the people that have listened this long. So I'm not going to put this in the video. I'm not going to advertise it in the video. This is just a little bonus for those of you that kept on listening to the end of the video. So if you can pick all 17 of these games correct, I'll just give you $50. Why not? Just as a bonus. All right. So it's the Falcons out of here. Stokes, aka Stokes, we out of here. Good luck to everybody as we continue on with this season. 2-1. Just keep on pushing. Peace.